Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me here. So, obviously, we're in the midst of some uncharted territory, and it's something that's honestly quite uncomfortable for a lot of us, where we're trapped inside. We really don't know what we're doing, and every single day brings something new. We know we're in the midst of a recession. It's something that we knew was coming, but was probably 3 or 4 months out, or even potentially a year, that was going to happen sometime in 2021. But the pandemic that we're experiencing has brought it here, and it's amongst us. And what I do, and what I really have helped people do, is master their mindset and own it, for lack of a better word, to help create a system that can make sure that you flourish, that you master certain systems and frameworks, so that ultimately, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a corporate uh, individual working in the corporate world, you are able to take these things, these tools, and implement them immediately and see the changes in actionable steps. And you can take those steps with confidence, rather than being in this state of flux and feel like you're struggling and feel like you're just unsure of what to do. It brings a little bit of clarity to this uncertain space that we're in. And without a doubt, we're in it. It's not like it's about to happen, or that we could need to be fearful of it, because the only way to eliminate fear is to step into it. And the moment we step into it, that fear starts to go away, that fear starts to dissipate. And every single time we take a deeper step into fear, that next step becomes that much easier. And that is what we do with Own It. That is really what we are able to reframe and do it in a tangible way, so that you can optimize what it is that you're going to do. So, first up, I really want to take a good hard look at where we are. And when we say history repeats itself, we look back to 2008, 2009, in that deep recession. Although we didn't have a pandemic like we do now, where we're caught inside and closed off, it's always going to be something new. But we've been here before when we look back at 2008, 2009. And if you look at the stats, we are about to embark on a time in which we have the most entrepreneurs are going to enter the workforce ever. Why? Because we have a shortage of jobs. We have a influx of people who are good at tech or are learning tech. We have this massive field of what we call social media now. We have different ways to communicate with each other. We have different ways in which we can associate with each other, and very strong ties in which we can start to use that into business, but only if we can frame it in through our mind correctly, and only if we can take the proper steps and eliminate the 2, 3, 4, 5 year curve that it usually takes for us to get to some place like that. And that's pretty much what I've been doing over the last decade, is ensuring that athletes, CEOs, business people, people in the corporate space, entrepreneurs are in a framework, a state of mind, to be able to master their thinking, mastering their thoughts, mastering their beliefs, so that they can in turn create something that masters their health, wealth, and relationships, whatever it is for them that they're looking to do, so that they can have that life of fulfillment, have that life of freedom, have that life of financial stability, and quite honestly, financial freedom that they are looking for, and give it to their families, give it to their friends, live these vibrant, intense, and uh, deeply intimate relationships that they're truly seeking. So, with that, I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. And if we take a look um, at what we are doing, just hit play. We're basically going to focus on helping these high performers, which is you, break through barriers and own your mindset. And when I first started with this, I started off um, really with just the 8 pillars, and which we'll get to later. But the deeper I got into it, the more that I coached people, the more that I worked with people, the more that I found that this fundamental neurochemical, neurophysiological, metaphysical change needed to be done first. Because if we're not thinking right, if we're not able to tap into our brains correctly, if we're not able to make the decisions properly, we're never going to be able to make the progress that we need. We might see a little bit, it might be there for a little bit of time, but it's fleeting. It's going to leave us. It's going to, because willpower is only so strong. And the moment we start to run into a little bit of friction, the moment we start to have things not go our way, we're gonna completely get off track, completely fall off the rails, and we'll go back to our old habits. We'll go back to what was comfortable. We'll go back to what we know, and I'll explain to you why that happens. And it's amazing because it can all be proved by science. That's why this system within Own It is so unique and so different, because it's not just focused on one thing. It's not just focused on the framework of the system. It's actually built into our bodies. It's actually what we've been groomed with and born with. So what we'll cover today is, what are beliefs and what are they? Are they true? Where do they stem from? And then take a look at neuroscience and how it relates to mastering our business, health, and relationships. That they're not something that's just been created randomly. Every single person that has succeeded in those areas, you see somebody that has an amazing, thriving relationship, or you look at somebody who has the body that you want, or has lost an immense amount of weight, or has run a marathon or an Ironman, or has built a business that has scaled very quickly. They all have these neuroscience and metaphysical traits, whether they know it or not, excuse me, that they've mastered, and they've been able to turn them into this amazing, amazing outcome. And that's what I want to really get you guys to have a solid understanding of today. We're going to identify what these two states of being are. And we can only ever be in one of them at a time, but really having a key foundation of what those two states are and being aware of them is going to be extremely key as well. And then there's 5 phases to create the results we want. And those 5 phases is ultimately what becomes known as the Own It decision system. And if we can wrap our heads around that, then we can bring it into the pillar system, which creates that massive action that creates change in our life immediately. And then identifying when you're in each state of being. We really need to know that when we're there, and identify what we need to do to get in or out of that state. And then how to make impactful decisions that drive quality actions and results. And once we're able to make those impactful decisions, they last for an immense amount of time that will continue to be able to repattern on our way to creating these actionable results. So with lesson 1 here, we're looking at our beliefs and our decisions, and they are not true. Let me say that again. Our beliefs are decisions that we've made a long time ago, and they aren't true. So if we take a look here, we've experienced many things in our life, no matter what that is. From it could have been as we were a kid and we had our parents were arguing over money in the back room, and we decided that money creates arguments, or money creates issues within families. Or we could have been exercising and we fell and we're like, no, I can't work out because exercising hurts me. Or our parents could have had a business that went under, and we just know that businesses cause hurt or cause pain. And so we have to understand that experiences are nothing more than experiences, and we in turn put a meaning to them. We create the meaning that's there. It's not that the experiences themselves have a meaning. It's that we choose what that meaning is, and that meaning creates our thoughts. And those thoughts are ultimately what are going to either deem us successful or unsuccessful in that specific realm. So beliefs are decisions, and knowing that, we are going to have to be able to question our thinking. We have to question every single belief that we have because they are not true. No belief that we have is true. It's only something that we've tied to an experience. It's only something that we have put a meaning to. And for a lot of people, that's hard to imagine because forever we've just known that, oh, this is who I am. This is what I am. And over the course of time, the beliefs that we have, the meanings that we've put to them, we've just turned into who we are. It's not that that's what we were born with. We have learned these things over the course of time. We have learned these things over the course of our entire lifetime. It could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, however old we are. But that is what we have to truly identify and understand, is that our beliefs are not true. They are simply things that we have decided and put a meaning to based upon an experience that we've had. And so a lot of people will sit here and say, well, you just need to have more self-awareness, or you just need to be able to know yourself better. And that's great. I mean, it's awesome to be able to say that, but there needs to be a system or a process that's set up so that we can really start to figure out what that is and really be able to look at that and understand where that decision came from and question it. And being able to question it and give ourselves an answer is going to be able to allow us to either make a new belief or decision or own the decision that we're in. And if we're owning that, then we're going to help, again, continue the trajectory of which way we're going. So we need to know that beliefs are decisions. And in my own life, as I was coming through and as I was really building this, forever I had put things on other people. I'd always said that, oh, I was cut from a team because the coach had something against me, or I wasn't big enough, or I wasn't fast enough. And they always put these, because that's what I was always being told. And so I was putting a meaning to it, and I was owning that. And instead of changing, and the moment I changed that thought, the moment I changed that belief that no, I can do this, that what skills do I have that can counteract any type of handicap or something that held me back? What can I change in terms of how I frame that? And what became a major strength of mine was my brain and the way that I thought and the way that I looked at the world. And all of a sudden, abundance started to come to me, and all of a sudden, opportunities started to come to me, and these occurrences just started to come to me. And people would ask, "How are you doing that?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I'm just living. I'm just being." But it's because it all starts with the way that I thought, and it started about me questioning my beliefs. It started me questioning what I decided, and really completely separating the experience from the meaning that I was giving things, and completely reframed it. So with this, in lesson one, we need to know that beliefs are decisions, and none of them are true. And we need to be able to question them. So that is a really important foundational tool here that we're going to come back to when we get into lessons 3, 4, and 5. The next thing is really getting into that neuroscience and mastery of what that looks like. And again, neuroscience 101, it sounds like we're going back to school, but trust me, it's going to have you guys on the edge of your seat here. So neuroscience 101, when we are born, we're born with 1 billion neurons. And if you've ever seen a picture of a brain, it's like a bunch of sausage all intermingled and together. Somebody tied it in a bunch of knots and said, hey, that looks kind of cool, and threw it into your brain and put a skull over top of it and said, this is what you're going to operate from. But inside there are 1 billion neurons, okay? And if you take a look at that, that's a typo. That should say 25 million. But when we're born, there's only 25 million neurosynaptic connections. And what that was made from was, we eat or drink milk. That is how we feed. Light, what does that mean? We need to look to that. That's when we should be awake. When it was dark, that's when we should be sleeping. Things that rattle, those are safe. We should be able to play with those. When we're crawling, and we feel the carpet, that's a safe place as well. When we touch a hot object, we take our hand back. That's a new neurosynaptic connection that was formed, that things that are hot hurt us. So we should stay away from those. So when we're born, we only have 25 million of those. That should be an M with or a million with an M, not billion. So 1 billion neurons and 25 million neurosynaptic connections. So we are very young, very infant in that stage. And what happens over the course of our lifetime, like I said before, is we have these experiences. And experiences then start forming these new neurosynaptic connections, and we start to generate new beliefs. And as we generate these new beliefs, by our youth, by 7, 8, 9, 10, we have 100 trillion neurosynaptic connections. So we have these new beliefs and this new belief system that that basically starts to shape what we believe and shape these decisions that we're making. And as we start to do this, we have to now really start to question, like I said in the beginning, what is true and what is not. Because at our youth, we started to make these certain decisions of what was going to be okay, what was acceptable, who we were. And as we went on, we started to create that meaning. And that meaning became who we were. And we stored them. So we started to think we weren't good enough, or we started to think that we were too small, or that we couldn't run fast enough, or that we weren't smart enough, or that we weren't far enough along. And that continues to follow us through our lives. It continues to follow us from youthhood to teenagers to young adults, right into our age now. And as I'm starting to talk about this, you're probably starting to think, man, yeah, I'm in my business and I always think I should be further along, or I'm always comparing myself to X, Y, or Z person, or I'm always I'm not a morning person, or I can never get work done after 5 p.m. All of those things are just experiences that we've faced that we have put a meaning to. And again, none of them are true. They are simply things that we have been talking about that have put us in this state, and we've learned them. They are learned adaptations that have been put inside of us. I want you to think back to 50 First Dates, that movie with Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. And Drew Barrymore has this condition. She was in an accident, and she cannot remember the next day once she wakes back up. And so every single day, she's creating putting a new meaning to the experience. So if she had one day she woke up and she didn't know who Adam Sandler was. Well, Adam Sandler was I think it was her husband. And he had to teach her every single day that they were husband and wife, and that they were together, and that she liked the color blue, and that she loved dolphins, and she loved riding in the boat, and that she loved pancakes and syrup. And she had to learn these things over and over and over and over again. And so that's the same as us. We can reprogram our mind as to what we focus on so that it keeps us in this performance state. And that's what we're going to get to in a second. But our brains are these big search engines, and it's going to, whatever questions we ask it, it's going to find us the answer. If we're asking it, why aren't we good enough? Why are we fat? Why can't we figure this out? Why do bad things always happen to me? Why can I never be on time? We are going to find reasons why we can't. Well, you eat poorly. You aren't disciplined. You can't read a clock. You don't value the right things in life. And so that's who we become, because our mind, again, is almost like it's a goal achieving machine. It's this self-fulfilling prophecy that whatever we believe, whatever we think, we're going to make it happen. How many of us has ever been on a boat, and we get on a boat and we're wearing our favorite hat? Okay, we got our own hat on, and we're driving in this boat, and somebody says to us, are you sure you want to wear that hat? And you're like, yes, I want to wear this hat. Well, it might fall off. No, well, it might fall off. You're right. No, I don't need to tighten it up. And sure enough, as you're going along, the wind takes it and off it goes. And I'm not saying that you manifested that to happen, but the fact that you put it out there, you thought about it, you figured out a way in which to lose that hat, to make that question that you asked yourself, am I going to lose this hat? Made it happen. Or when you move into a new house, and or even think now under quarantine, I found myself falling into this trap this morning, is everyone's so concerned about being on top of one another, and in the back of my head I'm like, nope, it's not going to happen. And the moment somebody said to me, how can you function when you're on top of each other, how can you function and not get upset with one another? And I had never thought of that before. I'd never really I was just functioning as normal. But the moment I started to think about it, the more irritated I got, and it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so if you don't take the time to ask yourself the right questions, then there's no way that you're going to be able to bring yourself to the right actions. Because again, your mind is two things: it's a massive search engine, and it is a it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is a goal achieving machine. And if you take a look there, I noticed that youth to adulthood, those same 10 trillion synaptic or 100 trillion synaptic connections are still there. But now the awareness, we can reframe and reshape what it is that we're actually connecting and pulling from. And that is the key to this whole thing. So when we take a look at our brain, I know I talked about this before, but it's a goal achieving machine. Whatever we think, it's going to accomplish. It is going to make sure that it happens. It is going to continually look at it. It's a search engine. Whatever questions we ask it, it is going to kick out that information. And then there's the reticular activating system, the RAS. And this was something that was built into it from 2 million years ago, when it was first originally built by the higher power, whatever that higher power is that you believe in. And the reticular activating system brings in what is important. And so it actually only allows us to see 8% of reality. So the other 92% just kind of flows by us. It's there, we see it, but we don't process it. And so another example of this would be if you went shopping and you wanted to get Bose headphones. Well, we know that everybody's walking around with AirPods, but all of a sudden you take a look and you're like, I love these Bose headphones. And you go, you purchase them, and now you start walking around and you're like, oh, you have Bose headphones. You have Bose headphones. Well, it's not that all of a sudden everybody switched from AirPods to Bose headphones. Those Bose headphones were always there. You just became more aware of it. And that's the response of the reticular activating system. Whatever is front of mind, whatever we're thinking about, whatever is stimulating us, whatever is important to us, again, going back to the goal achieving machine and the search engine, that is what we're going to focus on. That is what we're going to find evidence of, that it exists in the world. So bringing that back to business, if we're focused on why our business isn't working, why our employees are not good, why we can't make our marriage work, why our kids are so annoying, we are going to find those answers, and those are the things that are going to be presented to us. But instead, if we go, where are my consumers at? What does my target client look like? What are amazing things about my wife? What do my kids do well over the course of the day? We are going to start looking for those types of things. And that is what our reticular activating system is going to bring over to us. And so that is why in business, in relationships, in anything, it's 80% mental and 20% tactics and systems and strategies. Because it doesn't matter how good your webinar is, it doesn't matter how good your podcast is, it doesn't matter how good that vacation is that you plan. If your mind is not trained properly, if your mind is not tuned properly, and you don't have the systems, the structure, and the framework of how to train your brain and actually use it in your favor, that 20% of an amazing funnel, a great book, anything else that you're trying to activate through your business, through your relationship, and through your fitness, that you can kick them to the side, because like I said at the beginning, your overall uh, willpower is fleeting. And at some point, it is going to fall by the wayside and you're going to go back to your same patterns that are familiar. So, going back with Neuroscience 101, we have we have neurons, we have synaptic connections that shape who we are. They become who we are. And our brain utilizes these three different things: goal achieving machine, a search engine, and a reticular activating system that makes things happen in our life so that it proves itself right. And by taking this, we now move on to these two states of being. And I know I've been talking about this in brief and just kind of touching on it, but we do only have two states of being. We have our primitive and our performance states. Okay. Our primitive states are we're going to quite often act out of anger, pain, fear, guilt, shame, lack of energy, anxiety, depression, worry, that thought of we're not good enough, being in the state we're in right now with people getting laid off, with the economy crashing down around us, with this pandemic going on. All of these things are going to put us in this primitive state unless we take control of our mind and it moves us over into this performance state. And that performance state stems from love, passion, joy. It's energy creating. It gives us this sense of vitality, creativity, curiosity, ingenuity, all of these things that are positive, all of these things that are self prophesizing, things that are really pushing us in a way to create. And there was a study done back in, I think it was 1998, that found that we only have 8 core feelings, and 5 of them are negative and 3 of them are positive. And lo and behold, anger, pain, fear, guilt, and shame are our 5 core negative feelings. And if you come and take a look at the 3 positive feelings, it's love, passion, and joy. When we're in those states, primitive or performance, that's what we're going to be feeling. That is at our core. And that's ultimately what's going to determine how we are acting and what decisions we are making. So when we're making decisions from that primitive state, that ultimately is when we start to waste our time and energy. Because there's only 2 things that we have in life that are finite. 2 things that we as humans have that we can never get back, and that's our time and that's our energy. You can always make more money, you can always take in more calories, you can always limit your calories, you can always burn more calories, you can always um, uh, build another business, but you can't get your time back and you can't get your energy back. Those are the 2 things. When you spend them, they're gone, and you have to wait for another opportunity to get them back. So if we're spending time in that primitive state, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your energy, and you're stealing your dream. You're stealing that mission that you're on. You're stealing whatever that vision is that you have. And that primitive state needs to go away. And if I was to sit back here and I was to say to you, how much time do you think you spend in that primitive state? A lot of people are going to say to me, Justin, I spend all day there, or I spend 3 hours there. Let's do that math. 3 hours a day, and that's on the low side of a lot of the clients that I've had, 21 hours a week. It's 21 hours a week. It's 84 hours a month. 84 hours a month. That's well over 1,000 hours a year. Now imagine what you could do with just over 1,000 hours a year. What could you do if you were to take those from a primitive state and into a performance state? You could literally do anything. You could build a business. You could save your marriage. You could build an unbelievable relationship if you didn't have one. You could transform your body. You could learn whatever skill it was that you needed to, any type of high income skill. You could literally do whatever you wanted, but it starts with making a different decision, and it starts with being in a different belief set and putting yourself in a different state of mind, a different state of being, and making decisions from there. And so that comes into now the Own It decision system. And within the Own It decision system, we get into these 5 stages of action. And there is beliefs, which we've talked about, which are the core thoughts of our decisions. So the core decisions that we make are truly our beliefs. Why? Like we spoke about, decisions are what we believe based upon the experiences and the meaning that we've given them. So that is our beliefs. From there, that stems our thoughts. They're very closely correlated. Okay? Beliefs create thoughts. Those thoughts create our emotions. And that emotion, we talked, there's only 8, either puts us in a primitive or a performance state. We can only be in 2. And that is the key right there in the middle, is that emotion, because that's where we split. And we either make a reaction or a proaction. Proactive, reactive. One of those two. We're reactive in a primitive state, we're proactive in a performance state. And immediately that creates a result. So what happens with a lot of my clients is I will bring them in and I will ask them what results they've been getting. And that's what they'll start with. They'll say, my business isn't working. My kids are running around like wild. My relationship is down in the dumps. I've put on 15 pounds and I just feel like I'm in a whirlwind. Well, all of a sudden, I know their results. I guarantee you, I know their decisions and their beliefs. I know what beliefs they've had. And I'll give you an example. That example I just gave you. Guy's business was starting to fizzle out. He wasn't being able to bring on any new clients. He was losing some of his clients that were there. They were going to other people who were more ingenuitive, that were creating more, that were more advanced in the tech side. His wife was getting frustrated because he wasn't bringing in the income that he needed. He was spending more time at work and fretting over it, living in the scarcity mindset and in that primitive state of mind. And his kids obviously not having the time, or him not giving it the time he needed to his kids. They were just, they weren't listening, they were undisciplined, and the whole family seemed to be falling apart. Well, when we sat down and we really started talking about what it was that was truly at his core, what he believed in all of these things, he believed that he didn't know, he believed that he could not learn technology. He believed that he was always going to be an old fashioned guy that was pen to paper, and the only thing he was going to use for technology was email. We know that that's not true. We know that he can learn new things. We know that he can do things, but that was his decision. He decided that he could not do it. He decided that that was his true belief, that at his core, he could not make that work. From there, directly correlated to the results he was getting. His wife, it was his second marriage. He always believed his parents had been divorced. He had been divorced once before. He believed that his wife was only with him for the money he was making, for the success he was. That at some point she would leave because that's just the way it happens in a marriage, that things just fizzle out. And that core belief, that decision, was ultimately end up manifesting through the results he was getting. Well, when all of a sudden we started to shift this, and we brought awareness to the fact that he was living in this primitive state of mind, and that we needed to shape these results in a different, or shape these beliefs in a different way, the results started to change. And we started not with trying to do something within his business, but we started with his key pillar that was causing him angst, which was his career and his education and his learning and his network. And we got him to start acting in a performance state and got him to start learning how to do what we're on right now, a Zoom call. And then we got him to start learning how to do Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and all of these different social medias. And he hired a virtual assistant because he couldn't handle everything that was going on now. And so all of a sudden, when he hired this virtual assistant, she started to be able to handle everything. He gave himself more time. Then we shifted to the core belief that we need to work on my relationship with my wife. The core belief changed to I am good enough. I'm in love with her. I'm going to do more for her. And the moment they took a night to themselves, the moment that he put his cell phone away at night, the moment that he showed her a priority, the results changed. And so it was simply taking the belief and decision that changed the thought and emotion that allowed him to live in this performance state long term. And he became an actionary person that got the results that he wanted. And this is where the change comes in, where if we take a look at what that primitive state looks like, that decision and belief that's at the core on that primitive state, we only see problems. And living within those problems is so energy sucking, is so hard on us. And it just pulls on us and it just leaves us in this place of disarray. We don't know what way is up, what way is down. And that emotion is always we live in anxiety, we live in fear, we live in pain. And all of a sudden we have no clarity. All we see is the world spinning around us like crazy, and it's just sucking us down. Like right now, what if I lose my job? What if I get laid off? What if the market doesn't bounce back? What if somebody in my family gets sick? How long are we going to have to stay in quarantine? And we live in this primitive state of being. And these questions we start asking ourselves: what if I can't pay my mortgage? What if I lose my house? What if I lose my job? All of these things, and we feel stuck and we feel trapped and we're struggling. And then we start reacting. We react out of anger. We react out of fear. We get mad at people. We react irrationally. And we don't make smart decisions. And the cycle continues. And we get caught in it. And we just can't seem to get out of it. And nothing gets done. And a week later, a month later, a year later, we're in this same place. And we don't know what to do. And we feel lost. And at that point, we may have lost our job. We may have lost our house. We may have lost our marriage because it's too late, because we haven't taken the proper action to do what we needed to do. Where instead, if we change to that performance state, we change that belief and that decision, and we act in gratitude, no matter what we're on, no matter what we're faced with. This pandemic, I'm taking it from a fact, you know what? I have all this time that I'm able to do a webinar like this. I have all this time that I'm able to reconnect with Elise, my better half, in a different way. I have all this time to look at areas of my business that I hadn't had the time at before. I take this time to look at myself and develop something else in myself that maybe I've been neglecting. Unless you have this emotion, this passion, you hear the way I speak right now, this passion, this joy, this energy, this ingenuity, this creativity, this is where things are created. Do you think that Disney was acting from a place of a primitive state where he had been told, no, 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 I'm not building a business off of a mouse? But he had this absolute state of gratitude and this passion and this vision that he wanted to accomplish. And because he lived in this emotional state, he had the absolute most clarity of what he needed to do. He could see it. He could absolutely see it. And then that led to the positive questions and the confidence to take action on those steps. And quite often what happens is when we get to that confidence state, the only thing holding us back from taking action is we don't know how. There was another study done in 2009 at Harvard. And they brought in these pianists to play the piano. And one group played the piano, the other group just imagined playing the piano. They both had the skills to play the piano, but one imagined it, one actually did it. And they put these sensors on their brain, and they saw which part of their brains lit up. And then they switched. The group that had played the piano didn't. The group that didn't play the piano did. They took those same brain scans, and then they put them on top of each other. And they noticed that the exact same parts of their brain lit up, the exact same. And that was amazing for science, amazing for neuroscience, amazing for this whole facet of creation. Because the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what's imagined in vivid detail. And that is key. Because what's happening now is we're creating that synaptic connection of a memory or experience that hasn't yet happened. But all of a sudden, we start to ask questions. And what does our brain do? It's a big search engine. It starts to give us answers. So we don't need to know the how. We don't need to know how to get there. We just need to take action. And that action needs to be taken in a state of gratitude and that performance state of being, because we're going to have clarity. We're going to be able to imagine in vivid detail. We're going to ask the right questions. We're going to have the confidence to take that step into that unknown. And that is where the change happens. This is the key, guys. When we can live in this performance state, we're going to be able to make those proper decisions and reframe those beliefs that we have to have, that give us gratitude, that can have us see the positive area that we are in. And then we're going to have the emotion, that joy, that passion that pulls us, rather than willpower, which pushes us. That's fleeting. That push is going to leave at some point. We need something that pulls us, something that pulls us to get up in the morning, something that pulls us to do the extra work, something that pulls up to stay late, whatever it is, but it pulls us there. And we're going to see this massive clarity, absolute clarity that changes the way that we make decisions and ask questions to ourselves. And in our brain, it's going to start manifesting these answers to us. It's going to start producing the answers, because again, it's a goal achieving machine. If we see it and we've created this memory, that synaptic connection cannot be dissembled. It can't be forgotten. And we're going to ask ourselves questions that help get us there and take action. And that's what lead us to these 8 pillars. And this is the 8 pillars of our life, where we have wellness, faith, relationships, career, self-care, finance, network, and legacy. And all 8 of these make up our house. They make up our life. And we cannot be content, fulfilled, or happy unless we're balancing. And I hate the word balance. I should actually say rhythmically working, because sometimes one are going to be more prioritized than the others. But there's this rhythm. It's like pistons in an engine. In order to work, they're always going up and down. They're always changing and coming in and out. But the fact that we have this clarity and this fact that we know what we want to accomplish, we can put the energy and time in that one area. And that's where this whole thing started. And with me, I felt the pinnacle of failure. I had success without fulfillment. Because as high performers, we're continually striving for something bigger. We're continually striving for something more. And when we reach that goal, or we reach that vision, and we're unfulfilled, where do we go? If we fail, it's not really a failure, it's a learning experience. Because as a high performer, we're just going to redirect. We're going to assess where we are. Oh, that didn't work. What do I do to make it slightly different so that I can continue to get forward? And it's a continual building block. It's a system. But what happens when we continue to reach success, and we get to the top, and we're like, is this it? What's left? What's there for me? Or right now, where we've worked so hard to get where we are, but we get laid off. Is this what I've worked so hard for? Or we've gone to the gym every day and we've gotten the body that we've wanted, and now we can't go. What do I do now? And that's where I was at. And that is why we needed to have that foundation of the own it system, the own it decision system, the OIDs, to make sure that once we get here to our pillars, that we can ask the right questions, that we can really, really give quality, clarity answers to what we're looking at when we're doing this deep intrinsic work. Because the deep intrinsic work isn't lasting, isn't fulfilling, isn't life-changing unless we're answering the questions out of absolute clarity. And so when we go into this own it journey now, we come as you are. We don't change you. We take you exactly as you are, because you need to know foundationally and fundamentally that you are enough, that you yourself is perfect as you are. As imperfect as you are perfect, and that you are enough. And all we need to do is reframe the way you think, open you up to the other 92% of reality that you're missing, and pull in the 8% that is actually true. Question those beliefs that you have, because if anything is pulling you into that primitive state of mind, it's not true. Hear that statement again. Anything that's pulling you into that performance state of mind, or anything that's pulling you into that primitive state of mind, is not true. The belief is not true. We were meant to live lives that were vibrant. We were meant to live lives that were fulfilling, that were plentiful and abundant. And any belief that is not pulling you in that performance state is untrue. We need to live in that performance state. And that's where we're meant to be. And the people who fail, the people who have regret, the people who do not, who stop chasing their dream, who fall back to something safe, the only reason they stop is because they spent so much time in that primitive state and they don't see a way out. And so you come as you are, and we change the way you think, and then we clarify your vision. We make that so clear, it's so vivid. You can see it, you can taste it, you can touch it. It's already there. When somebody asks you, what does your house look like? You know exactly what it looks like. What's that job look like? What's that business look like? What's that family look like? What's that woman look like? What's that man look like? You can describe it to an absolute T. You are so clear on it, and you are so committed to it, and you know exactly what it is. There's no question that your brain's already creating that for you. And then you clarify who you are. You create that confident person inside of you. That person that came and that person that you find out who you are, it's the same person, but now you've just reshaped your beliefs. You've reshaped the decisions that you've made so that you can operate at a high level. You can be the operator of your life. And then you identify where we came from, because we never want to go back to that place. We want to identify the difference between between those decisions, between those thoughts. Identify the difference between those questions we're asking ourselves, and question the heck out of them, because we only want the positive ones. And then we realize our core values and pillars. Once we've reshaped our mind, identified who we were, clarified who we were, get that vision, we realize our core values and pillars. We really, really re-isolate those, and we know exactly what they are. We take action on those. And then we determine that feeling of association. What is driving us? What of those pillars is driving us to get into that primitive state of mind? What is taking us there? Is it that we're not focused enough on our health? Is it that we're not taking enough time for ourselves? Is that our relationships are putting us there? That our job and how we're thinking about it is putting us there? And that's where we identify our biggest friction point, and that is where we put our time and energy. That is where we put our focus to change our thought, to change our belief, to change everything. And we put our time and energy, and we prioritize it, because that is when we can take massive action. We can't just take massive action for like, I need to react to something. That just becomes energy sucking. We need that system, and then we execute. And then we start that whole process again. And it's cyclical, and it never stops, guys. This isn't something you do once and all of a sudden you're like, man, I have the best life. I had people that came to my retreat, and they came and they did this, and they took massive action. They made money that same night. They rekindled relationships that were falling apart. Some people came as couples and came the next day just on fire. And then we reached back out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, and they said, yeah, I was so awesome for about 3 months, and then it started to fizz away. And I said, did you get a coach? Did you have somebody to hold you accountable? Did you continue to go through this process? And they said, no. And I was like, I'm surprised it lasted 3 months. We need to continue to repeat this process. We need to continue to look back on these things and continue to pull upon the system in which we're operating, because it's not just one thing. We don't just do it once. It's something that we live by. It's a lifestyle. And that is why the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful business people, the most successful intimate relationships feed off this and work off this stuff. And we need to ask ourselves these questions. What is your why? What is your vision? What are your values? What are your talents? What are your gifts? What gives you energy? What steals your energy? And we need to answer these from that performance state of mind. Because what is your why? My why is to end the struggle for people everywhere. My why is to allow everybody a system and a framework in which they can live their perfect, vibrant, and intellectually deep life. To be able to live the life they desire and the life that they deserve. and to end that pain, that suffering that they feel on a day-to-day basis when they feel stuck. That is my why. That is what I think about when I go to bed. That is what I think about when I wake up. And my vision is to do that on a day-to-day basis through my coaching, through my retreats. I have the vision that and I see it standing on a stage talking to 30,000 people in a hockey arena. Now, the hockey arena used to be my place that I played on the ice. It used to be the place that I coached the NHL rinks around the nation. And now I want that to be my new platform, but from a way that fulfills my why. It helps me reach a massive level of success with fulfillment, which is the ultimate level of success, the opposite of the ultimate level of failure that I felt in that same arena. Your values, your talents, gives you energy, takes it away. We need to be able to find that from that performance state. And that's why we can't get into this before we master our mind. We need to go through the own it decision system first, and then we go into the own it performance system. Those are the two things that we can really start to flow and really start to create massive positive change. Massive change, whether you're wanting to start a business, whether your business is just about to go out of business, whether you have a team underneath you that you can't seem to motivate, whether you have other employees that you want to rally around you, whether you need to fix what's going on in your home, you need to focus on your relationship, you want to change your relationship, you want to change your body, whatever it is, this is always where it starts, guys. And like I said before, it comes down to this place of understanding your purpose. Having that vision, you see right there in that middle part of the big triangle, we start with the purpose and the why. We need to map and action steps. But first, we need to identify what that vision is. Then we take action and we get there. And if it's in the way, and if it's getting us to the place that we want, we just redirect and reassess. And we continue to reach that pinnacle. We continue to go through that same system and same framework of questions and answering to be able to get there. And all of a sudden, by doing this, we can now start to develop these high income skills. And a lot of people say to me, well, just I'm a great leader. I'm an unbelievable marketer. I've got a great online social network. I've got a great network outside of this. And I feel like I'm pretty productive. But the big thing they lack is the mindset, because they've been acting in this state of being for so long that they've just identified a certain way to either survive and get by without true fulfillment, or it's so much harder than it actually needs to be. And by focusing on all five of these areas and really tapping into the mindset's 80% here, guys. Mindset is 80%. And the networking, the productivity, the leadership, all of that wraps into that other 20. If we can take our mind and we can change the way we think and change the way we see things, no matter if we're working with an unruly employee, no matter if we're working with a spouse that's unhappy with us, no matter if we're working with a child, no matter if we're working with our business, if we're wanting to start a business, we can change the way we operate, change the actions we take, and ultimately change the results we get. Because that's what we want. We all want different results. We all want better results. And we're in this state where the economy is falling down around us. People are getting laid off. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And by truly understanding that, we can make the changes that we need to in order to get ahead of it with this time that we have. And you can be one of the success stories that comes out of this. You can be one of the success stories that starts a business, that transitions out of the job they're in and into an entrepreneurial space, because you have a gift, you have a talent that can help people, and it's your responsibility, your respond ability, your action that you need to take on that and give it to everybody else. When I first started doing this, I was just mindset right there. I was a strength coach. 10 years ago, I was a strength coach working in the NHL. And I had this passion, I had this understanding of neuroscience and metaphysics and the mind. And somebody told me, this is a gift that you have that you need to share to the world. And as I started to put it together, it's been able to save lives, save marriages, save businesses, save companies. And that is more rewarding than anything I could have ever done. And you have that same talent. And we need to unlock what that is. And we can do it by just changing the way we think, by just changing the way that we operate, making different decisions, making different beliefs, changing our thoughts and emotions, and acting in that performance mindset. Again, think about how much time you spend in that primitive state, thinking about whether you want to start that business, thinking about whether you want to put the time into that relationship, thinking about whether you want to go work out. And if we took that time over the course of a day, a week, a month, a year, you can accomplish anything that you want. And it's not woo woo stuff here, guys. It's all science based, it's all tactically and systematically put together for you so that you can succeed. So, reframing the way that you think, creating absolute clarity, aligning your priorities, and taking massive, purposeful action is the way that we get us to change our life and create the life that we want, even in times like this, especially in times like this. Because 99% of the world is going to fall in. They're going to get uptight. They're going to go into um, that small-minded state, that primitive state, that scarcity state, where they want to hold everything close. They want to spend less. They want to be exposed less. They want to see less people. Whereas now is the time to thrive. Now is the time to get out there. Now is the time to offer services and help to those people. Now is the time to grow. Think in abundance. Be in abundance. Be blessed. Think in gratitude. Be open to these things. Reshape the way we think. Because those beliefs that we have, like I said, they change the thoughts, you change the emotion, you change the action, you change the result. Those results that we get are directly correlated to those beliefs and decisions we make. And if we can really tap in to where we are at the base, we're going to ultimately change our life. And we create that clarity. We let our mind do the work for us. We create that image so vividly in our mind that we now become aware of all the opportunity and everything that the world is putting in our way to help us, but it's been part of the 92% that just runs by us, that we just don't think about, that we just don't see. And then we're able to realign our priorities. We're able to focus on that one area, and we're able to go, and we're able to take massive, purposeful action. This isn't just sitting and planning, guys. This is not just sitting and planning. And I'm not saying we sit here and we start thinking good thoughts. I want to be a millionaire. I want a new house. I want to have better kids. I want to have a better relationship. No, it starts there. But very quickly, after it starts there, that's when the action starts. That's where that moment we get to take that first step into the unknown. We get to take that first step into massive action that creates the results that we want. And then we get a coach. We get someone to hold us accountable. We get outside eyes on what we're doing. I've spent over $200,000 on coaches and therapists and systems over the last 5 years, and it's vaulted me to a level that I would have never thought possible. It's helped me think in a way that I would have never thought before. It's prevented me from years of mistakes and years of wrongdoings and years of wasted money if I tried to do it on my own, if I tried to navigate these waters on my own. And without that coach, without that a mentor, without that person to help guide you, without the systems in place, these systems weren't built overnight and willy-nilly. It was years of experience, years of education, years of self-education, and years of mentorship. And that is what's so powerful here. We can take 5, 10, 15 years off your journey in entrepreneurship, 5, 10 years off your journey of corporate growth, leadership ability, accountability within your organization, years off therapy bills, off your relationship, years off of just unhappy feelings within your family, years off of struggling with your weight and all of these other things that we might be struggling with within our bodies. We can take action, and you don't need to struggle, and you don't need to be on your own, and we can get there. Change your beliefs, change your life, guys. That's what it comes down to. Using the Own It decision system, using the Own It performance system, we can change your beliefs and change your life. Got a lot more content on LinkedIn, got a lot more content on Instagram. Um, Tune in, check it out. Got a lot of different systems out there for you guys that you can tune in and check out on the Own It decision system, on the Own It performance system. But book a call with me. They're free consultation calls. Justownit.co. Reach out and book that call. I work directly with all my clients. I have a team behind me that works extremely hard so that all I need to do is focus on my clients. All I need to focus on is changing your beliefs so that ultimately together we can change your life. And have a call with me, justownit.co. Can't wait to talk to you. I'll get you all the free resources that I can from my 2 books, from the video series, from the other webinars that I have. But yeah, book a call with me and we can get you into a program that fits what it is that you need so that you can optimize whether it's your business, whether it's relationships, whether it's starting your entrepreneurship journey. Because you shouldn't do it alone. You shouldn't feel like you're alone. And more than ever right now, we know what it feels like to be trapped and potentially on your own. But there's so many people that are in your same space, so many people that are in your same shoes. And I've been there before, and I want to hold your hand and walk side by side with you the entire way. So justownit.co, book a call, and let's change your beliefs, change your life. Go own it.